The sun hangs low in the sky, dripping gold across the neighborhood park. The scent of fresh-cut grass mingles with the laughter of children, their voices weaving into the warm summer air. It's the kind of day that feels untouched by time, where worries are left behind, and families gather to soak in the simple joys of life. I stand on the sidelines, watching my kids, Jalen and Maya, as they run across the open field. They're each gripping the strings of their kites, faces beaming as the wind snatches them high into the sky. Jalen's kite, a sleek black falcon, dips and soars, while Maya's bright pink butterfly flutters beside it. "This is perfect," I murmur to my wife, Tanya, as she leans against me. "They've been talking about this all week." She smiles. And they finally got the wind for it. The park is a mix of families, Black, Hispanic, Asian, white, each staking out their space under the sun. Some are barbecuing, others tossing frisbees. A group of teenagers plays basketball on the far court. There's a harmony here, a rhythm of everyday life. But there's always one discordant note. From the corner of my eye, I spot her, Hoa Karen. She stands near the park entrance, arms folded tight against her chest, her face pinched with disapproval. Her blonde bob, crisp and immaculate, doesn't move in the wind, but her narrowed eyes flick between us and the kites soaring overhead. My stomach knots. I know that look. That tight-lipped expression of someone scanning for a problem, even where none exists. "Honey," Tanya murmurs, following my gaze. "She's watching." "She's always watching," I mutter. Hoa Karen isn't just any neighbor. She's the self-appointed enforcer of her version of order. The type who calls the HOA over a mailbox that's the wrong shade of brown. The type who clutches her purse tighter when my son rides his bike past her house. The type who makes life just uncomfortable enough to remind you who she thinks belongs here and who doesn't. I shake it off. Let's not let her ruin this. Tanya nods, but the unease lingers. Jalen and Maya's kites continue to climb, their joy unshaken. That is until Maya gasps, "Daddy, look at that one." She points toward the far end of the field, where another kite rises, a monstrous, 50-foot inflatable dragon, bright red with golden horns. A few teenagers are hoisting it up, laughing as the massive creature sways in the wind. Its wings stretch wide, catching the breeze, its head tilting as if surveying the land below. It's magnificent. Maya claps her hands. "Can we get one like that?" I chuckle. "That thing is bigger than our house." But before I can admire it any further, my attention snaps back to Hoa Karen. She's gripping her phone. Her lips move rapidly, eyes locked on the kites, including my kids. A cold shiver runs down my spine. She's calling 911 over a kite. And I already know this is just the beginning. I watch as Hoa Karen paces near the park entrance, phone pressed to her ear. Her lips move in tight, clipped syllables. Every few seconds, she glares toward the sky, then back at the ground as if she's witnessing a crime in progress. A kite crime. My jaw tightens. I can't hear what she's saying, but I already know the script. There are people causing a disturbance in the park. I don't feel safe. You need to send someone right away. Tanya notices too. What do you think she's saying? I shake my head. Nothing good. Jalen and Maya are still running across the grass, completely unaware. Their laughter mixes with the sounds of kids playing, the rhythmic bounce of a basketball hitting pavement, the occasional bark of a dog. Everything is normal, but it won't be for long. I force a deep breath, scanning the park. Nobody else seems to notice her. She's standing just far enough away to blend into the background, yet close enough that I can see the tension in her shoulders, the righteous indignation in her stance. And then, as if to confirm my worst fears, she gestures toward my kids. I stiffen. My stomach drops. What the hell? Tanya grips my arm. Let's not jump to conclusions. But I can see it now, the shift in her demeanor. The way she glances around, waiting for backup. The way she subtly adjusts her posture, like a soldier preparing for battle. She's not just watching. She's targeting. The first sign of trouble comes fast. A white man in his mid-50s, with khakis and a polo stretched over a belly full of self-importance, ambles up to the teenagers flying the giant dragon kite. He looks like he stepped straight out of an HOA meeting with the entitled swagger of someone used to getting his way. "That's dangerous," he barks, jabbing a finger at the kite. "You can't fly something like that here." The teens glance at each other. One of them, a tall black kid with locks, frowns. Why not?" "It's a safety hazard," the man snaps. "It could crash into someone or get tangled in power lines." The nearest power lines are 2 blocks away. I take a step forward, instincts on high alert, because I've seen this play out before. This isn't about safety. It's about control. Hoa Karen nods approvingly from a distance, phone still clutched in her hand. She's found an ally, a co-conspirator. My pulse pounds in my ears, because I know what's coming next. Not 5 minutes later, the distant wail of police sirens shatters the air. And the easy, carefree afternoon? It's over. The sirens grow louder. Conversations hush. Basketballs stop bouncing. Parents glance up, scanning the park, confusion flickering across their faces. I exhale sharply, trying to stay calm. But I know exactly why those cops are coming. They're not here for a real emergency. They're here because Hoa Karen made a call. And calls like hers? They have a way of turning dangerous, especially for people who look like me. The police SUV rolls up onto the curb near the playground. 2 officers step out, hands resting near their belts. One of them, a stocky guy with a buzz cut, adjusts his sunglasses, his gaze sweeping the field like he's surveying a battlefield. The other, a younger officer, walks toward the dragon kite first. His expression is neutral, but I see it, the calculated assessment, the way he sizes up the teenagers before even speaking. Here we go. I move before they do, my pulse hammering in my throat. Tanya grabs my wrist. "Don't." I meet her eyes. "If I don't, who will?" She lets go. But her face says everything. Be careful. As I stride across the grass, I see the entitled man from earlier, khaki polo, talking animatedly with a stocky cop, pointing at the massive inflatable dragon like it's some kind of biohazard. Hoa Karen lingers nearby, arms crossed, lips pressed tight in smug satisfaction. I reach them just as the officer starts speaking to the teenagers. "You guys the ones flying this?" The black teen with locks, Kenny, I think his name is, nods warily. "Yeah. This isn't an authorized area for large inflatables," the cop says, voice clipped. "You need to take it down." Kenny frowns. "It's a kite. It's not hurting anyone." Khaki polo scoffs. "It's dangerous. It could fall on a child." I step in. "Excuse me, but how exactly is this kite a problem?" The cop shifts, finally acknowledging me. "Sir, we received a complaint." "From her?" I nod toward Hoa Karen, who feigns innocence, shaking her head. "I have no idea what he's talking about," she says sweetly. "Liar." I turn back to the officer. "So you showed up because someone didn't like it? What's the actual rule here?" The younger cop hesitates, but the stocky one doesn't. "Sir, we're just trying to ensure safety." I press. "Is there an ordinance against this?" Silence. "They don't have one." Khaki polo blusters. "You people always have to push the rules, don't you?" My vision tunnels. "You people." The tension in the air thickens. Kenny's jaw clenches. His friends shift uncomfortably. I take a deep breath. "What exactly do you mean by you people?" Khaki polo backpedals, but his smirk says it all. "I just mean some people don't think the rules apply to them." Hoa Karen jumps in, all faux sweetness. "No one is saying you can't be here. We just want everyone to feel safe. That kite is disruptive, and let's be honest, some parents weren't supervising their children properly." I see red. She's not talking about the teenagers anymore. She's talking about my kids. I step closer, keeping my voice level. "My children are playing with store-bought kites. So, why exactly did you call the police?" Her mask slips for a second, just a flicker of irritation before she plasters on a condescending smile. "I called because someone had to ensure the rules were being followed." Rules she's making up on the spot. The young cop looks uneasy now, like he's realizing the mess they've walked into. But the stocky one? He's doubling down. Sir, we need you to cooperate. Cooperate with what? My voice sharpens. There's no rule against flying kites. There's no ordinance against inflatables in this park. So tell me, officer, what exactly do I need to cooperate with? The crowd has gathered now. Parents, teens, strangers who are just here for a sunny afternoon. And they're watching. Khaki Polo notices too. His confidence wavers. He steps back. Hoa Karen, though? She's still smiling. Because she thinks she's won. And that's when I pull out my phone. I've been recording this whole time. I hold up the screen, pressing play. Her voice crackles through the speaker. Some parents weren't supervising their children properly. The crowd shifts. A murmur ripples through them. The younger cop stiffens. The stocky one's face darkens. Hoa Karen's smirk falters. She knows she messed up. But she has one last card to play. She squares her shoulders, flicks her hair back, and says, voice dripping with indignation, "He's threatening me." The words hit like a slap. I go still. The crowd tenses. And I realize she's not trying to win the argument anymore. She's trying to turn me into a suspect. Hoa Karen stands tall, arms folded, her lips twisted into that smug little smirk. She thinks she's won. The cops are here. Her cops. The stocky officer, Officer Grant, has his hand near his belt. His stance is stiff, wary. The younger officer, maybe in his late 20s, looks uncertain, but he's following Grant's lead. And me? I stand perfectly still, hands open and visible. I know the game. Sir, we got a complaint about aggressive behavior, Grant says, tone sharp. A woman here says you threatened her and we're causing a disturbance. I don't look at him. I look at her. Hoa Karen. She's practically glowing with self-satisfaction. I told them, she says sweetly, that I was just trying to ensure safety, but he got hostile with me. She places a hand on her chest like she's the victim. My jaw clenches, but I force myself to stay calm. You lied, Tanya snaps, stepping forward. Nobody threatened you. Grant holds up a hand, cutting her off. His eyes land back on me. Sir, step away from the area, so we can sort this out. I know what this means. He wants me isolated, away from witnesses. I shake my head. No. We're sorting this out right here. The murmur in the crowd grows. Parents, bystanders, they're watching. Hoa Karen's smirk falters just slightly. She expected fear, submission, but not this. Sir, Grant warns, fingers twitching near his belt. And that's when I pull out my phone. Click. Play. Her voice rings out from the speakers. Some parents aren't supervising their children properly. I don't feel safe. There are individuals here who don't belong. And then the kicker. I think one of them might have a weapon. A weapon. The words hang in the air. A gasp ripples through the crowd. Even the younger officer stiffens. Grant's posture shifts, but not enough. He's still looking for a way to turn this against me. I never said that. Hoa Karen blurts out. Her eyes dart toward Grant, like she expects him to fix this. I keep my voice steady. You did say it. And you called 911 knowing it was a lie. I raise my voice, turning to the younger cop. That's a false police report. That's a crime. His expression darkens. He knows I'm right. Check the park cameras, someone shouts from the crowd. Hoa Karen pales. Her smirk is gone, replaced with fear. Because she knows. She knows the truth is about to come out. The words hang in the air like a loaded gun. He's threatening me. Hoa Karen says it loud enough for everyone to hear. Loud enough for the stocky cop to stiffen, for the younger cop to flinch. Loud enough to turn this from an argument into something far more dangerous. I freeze. My hands stay at my sides, visible, open. My breath slows, every survival instinct kicking in. Because I know exactly how this can go. One wrong move. One misplaced word. And suddenly, I'm the aggressor. The angry black man. The threat. Tanya is already moving, stepping closer. He didn't threaten you. Her voice is steel. Everyone here saw that. Murmurs ripple through the crowd. Heads nod. Parents whisper. A woman near the playground calls out. He didn't do anything. She's lying. Hoa Karen's mask is cracking. She expected fear. She expected compliance. She didn't expect people to stand up. I keep my voice calm, controlled. I recorded everything. You lied to the police. That's a crime. Her lips part, eyes darting to the officers. I was just expressing concern. No, I say firmly. You tried to weaponize the police against me. The stocky cop narrows his eyes. He's still suspicious, still itching to turn this into something else. But the younger one shifts on his feet. His posture softens. He sees the crowd forming. He hears the whispers. He sees my phone, still recording. And then, actually, I saw everything. A new voice enters the fray. I turn and see an elderly man stepping forward. A retired teacher, Mr. Alvarez. He's been coming to this park for years, always sitting on the same bench with his dog. He holds up his own phone. I started recording when she called the police.
His voice is steady.
She lied. She said there were unruly, unsupervised individuals making people feel unsafe. He turns to the younger cop. There was nothing unsafe here. Just kids playing with kites. The murmur grows. Someone in the back shouts, "Check the park cameras." Hoa Karen blanches. Her head snaps toward the entrance, where a security camera is mounted on a streetlight. A neighborhood safety measure installed last year. And now, it's her undoing. The younger officer hesitates, then turns to the stocky one. We should request the footage. Stocky hesitates. His jaw tightens. I see it, his reluctance. His resistance. But now there are too many eyes on him. Too much evidence. Finally, he exhales. Dispatch, we need footage review from the park entrance camera. Hoa Karen panics. She whirls toward khaki polo, as if he might save her. But he's already slipping away, suddenly uninterested in defending her. She turns back to me, her voice shrill. This is harassment. I was just concerned for safety. You're twisting my words. I hold up my phone again.
Play.
Her own voice echoes out. Some parents weren't supervising their children properly. Her mouth snaps shut. Tanya crosses her arms. So tell me, Hoa, was it the black kids playing that scared you? Or just the fact that you couldn't control them? The truth lands like a thunderclap. Her face twists. That's not. I know exactly what it is. My voice is quiet but firm. You saw my kids having fun, and you decided it was a problem. You called the cops on a family enjoying a Saturday afternoon. And now, you're trying to spin it like you're the victim. The younger cop listens. Really listens. He turns to Hoa Karen, suspicion creeping into his eyes. Ma'am, did you knowingly make a false report? She recoils. I know. I was just. You said you were threatened. I remind her. Where's the threat? Silence. She's cornered. Her gaze darts wildly, searching for an escape. But there isn't one.
More phones are out now.
More cameras. She's not just facing me anymore. She's facing everyone. The stocky cop's radio crackles. Dispatch confirms they're retrieving the footage. The younger officer sighs. Ma'am, I need you to stay put while we review the footage. Hoa Karen loses it. This is ridiculous, she shrieks. You're taking a side? What about my safety? I don't feel safe. You called 911 on a kite, I say coldly. And then, the real moment of reckoning. The park manager, an older black woman named Ms. Reynolds, pushes through the crowd. Officer, she says, if you want footage, you don't need to wait on dispatch. We have direct access to the cameras. Hoa freezes. And I watch the moment it dawns on her. She's about to be exposed.
Completely. Publicly.
The younger cop gives her one last look before turning to Ms. Reynolds. Let's check the footage. And just like that, the tables turn. Her entire plan, to call the cops, to paint herself as the victim, to make me the problem, is falling apart. She looks around, as if someone might still rescue her. But no one does. Because the truth is out. And there's nowhere left to hide. The tension is thick. No one moves. No one speaks. Then, Ms. Reynolds turns the screen of her tablet toward the officers. The security footage plays in crisp HD. It shows everything. Hoa Karen standing off to the side, watching my kids. Her making the call. Her pointing. Her whispering to khaki polo. The smug little smile when the cops arrived. But most damning? There's no threat. No aggression. Just kids laughing, flying kites, and families enjoying a Saturday afternoon. The younger officer exhales sharply, his jaw tightening. He turns to Hoa Karen. Ma'am, you knowingly made a false report. I was just trying to keep the park safe. Her voice is high-pitched now, desperate. I had concerns. Your concerns almost got a man falsely detained. Ms. Reynolds cuts in. Her arms are crossed, her expression unreadable. That's a serious offense. Hoa Karen whips toward the stocky cop. You saw. He was aggressive. The cop shifts uncomfortably. The crowd is too big now. Too many people are watching, recording. There's no way to spin this in her favor. She realizes it too, because for the first time, she's not the one in control. The younger officer turns to his partner. We have probable cause for filing a false police report. The words hit. Hoa's face drains of color. You can't be serious. Stocky hesitates. His hand hovers near his belt. But then he nods. Turn around, ma'am. The audible gasp from the crowd is almost as satisfying as the sight of Hoa Karen being spun around, her arms yanked behind her back. She fights it, thrashing as the cuffs click into place. You can't do this to me. I was just. Her voice cracks. Her privilege won't save her now. Khaki Polo, her loyal ally, disappears into the background, pretending he was never part of this. I watch, chest tight, as the officers lead her toward the police car. She twists her neck, eyes wild, locking onto me. This is your fault, she screeches. I shake my head.
No.
It's yours.
The doors slam.
The police SUV pulls away. And just like that, she's gone. The crowd lingers, buzzing with shock and disbelief. Ms. Reynolds turns to me. You good? I nod.
Yeah.
Thanks for stepping in. She smiles, but there's something knowing in her gaze. We have to look out for each other. People murmur in agreement. Someone claps me on the back. A mom I don't know leans down and tells Maya and Jalen, you guys have an awesome dad. Kenny and the other teens are still holding the kite string. So, can we still fly this thing? Ms. Reynolds smirks. Park rules say nothing about dragon kites. Laughter ripples through the group. And just like that, the park belongs to us again. Later that night, after the kids are asleep, I check my phone. The video of Hoa Karen's meltdown has already gone viral. The comments are brutal. She really tried to I'm a victim her way out of that arrest. Weaponizing 911 should be a felony. Karma came for her in 4K. And then, an article. I click. Turns out, this isn't the first time Hoa Karen has pulled something like this. She's been caught before, calling the cops on black kids at a community pool, filing complaints about suspicious delivery drivers. But this time she got caught. I exhale, setting my phone down. The world is still unfair.
People like her still exist. But today we won.